Hey guys, it's Dr. Hanson, and listen, life is changing at an extremely rapid pace, and our sleep is one of the things that's suffering the most because of it. If you imagine taking a computer, one of the very first computers that was ever made, and trying to use it today, it just wouldn't work. We can't even keep the last version of our phones to working with everything that's going on. And this is just, again, with the human body, this is exactly what's happening, creating a lot of problems. So we are living a life in an environment that we were really never designed for. A couple examples of that, I mean, obviously artificial light. So for the majority of human existence, we didn't have it. But now we do, and it's a part of everyone's lives, and it has a tremendous impact on how we sleep. Another thing, obviously tribe size. This is a very interesting area to look at, but most people in human history have only interacted with a fairly small amount of other people their entire lives. But today we've got the internet and social media and all these things, and we're having to interact and try and engage, or at least we try to, with hundreds or thousands or even millions of people. And this, again, this is a very different life, a very different environment than in the past. So, when it comes to sleep, 100 years ago, the average human would have slept about 10 hours a night. The average American today sleeps just over 6 hours. That's a dramatic change. Of course, one of the big reasons for all this, is a value shift. There's a culture, I experienced this myself, maybe you too, but there's a culture that really minimizes sleep or devalues it. Things like, you'll sleep when you die, or there's no time for that, or it's the earlier you get up, the better. We wear it like a badge of honor. I got up at 4 a.m. We're just busy, and we feel like sleep, if you can just sleep less, you can free up some more time. And so it's usually one of the first things to go to help us meet the demands of, a modern lifestyle. Of course, valuing sleep, really, at the end of the day, is how we solve the problem. So, we devalue sleep. We've got this life with very new demands on us. We devalue sleep, and the result is, well, people have a hard time getting to sleep. People have a hard time staying asleep. People have a hard time waking up. People are constantly drowsy during the day. People spend potentially excessive time in bed because their sleep isn't any good. Their sleep isn't good quality. People have these lulls during the day where they're extremely tired. People fall asleep, while they're driving or at the computer or at the TV, and just their body will just shut down. Maybe they need, people these days a lot of times always feel like they could take a nap. And these are, again, these aren't necessarily natural sleeping patterns. These are just the results or the symptoms of underlying issues, again, not valuing sleep and new demands of a modern life and environment. One of the interesting things, if you consider sleep deprivation, the reality is that just because you think you can get by with less sleep doesn't necessarily make it so. In fact, the research shows quite the opposite. Even the people who feel like they're functioning very well, if we actually sit them down and test them, we find some severe detriments to their functioning, to their health, etc., because of that sleep that they've lost. You can compare it, sleep deficit, to alcohol use. The legal limit or blood alcohol content for alcohol is 0.08. If you spend 17 hours awake just in one stretch, you essentially are functioning similarly to someone with a blood alcohol content of 0.05%. So that's kind of like, driving home after a long day at work. 17 hours, most people are thinking, yeah, that's kind of every day I'm awake for 17 hours straight. If you get 6 hours of sleep per night for 11 nights straight, so week and a half, you are essentially at that point functioning just like someone with a blood alcohol content of 0.1%, which is above the legal limit again, which is 0.08%. Double that, 6 hours of sleep per night for 22 nights, and you're essentially functioning like someone with a blood alcohol content of 0.2%. This is really drunk right at that point. Now, that doesn't mean that you're falling over and you're slurring your speech, but it comes down to executive function, decision making, how well you're processing things, your temperament, all of these sorts of human outcomes that help you be effective, happy, and function well in a day-to-day life. All of this really suffers. Now, a lot of you are going to be thinking, well, I've only gotten 6 hours of sleep for the last 10 years, and I feel like I'm okay. I'm doing well in various areas of my life, etc. The interesting thing is that losing sleep is very much like getting drunk. Those first couple drinks, you feel it, you recognize that it's having an effect on you, but there's a definite point where you continue to drink and you don't feel any difference, and you're thinking, you kind of switch from, wow, maybe I should slow down, or this is really affecting me, and you switch over to, oh, I'm fine, actually, I feel great, and you kind of again minimize it at that point. So just like drinking, at first you realize the effects of sleep deprivation, and this is usually the first day or two, but then sleep deprivation is really only impaired those first 2 to 3 days. After that, you don't really notice or feel the effects of it. So something to consider. Anyways, at the end of the day, life has changed dramatically. Our sleep is being affected, not just because of life and the environment, but also because we really devalue sleep these days. The solution to that is to recognize the problem, to place value on it, and we're going to keep talking about exactly how we do that, help you get the best sleep of your life.